Climate weapons are weapons of mass destruction, the main striking factor of which is a variety of natural or climatic phenomena created artificially. Using natural phenomena and climate against the enemy is an eternal dream of the military. To send a hurricane on the enemy, destroy crops in an enemy country, and thereby cause hunger, cause heavy rains, and destroy the entire enemy transport infrastructure, such opportunities couldn't fail to arouse interest of strategists. However, previously mankind didn't have the necessary knowledge and ability to influence the weather. In our time, human has acquired more power than ever. He split an atom, flew into space, reached the ocean floor. We have learned much more about the climate. Now we know why droughts and floods occur, why it rains and sweeps, how hurricanes arise. But even now we can't confidently influence the global climate. This is a very complicated system in which countless factors interact. Solar activity, processes occurring in the ionosphere, the Earth's magnetic field, oceans, anthropogenic factor are only a small part of the forces capable of determining the planetary climate. Even without fully understanding all the mechanisms that form the climate, people try to control it. In the middle of the last century, the first experiments on climate change began. At first, people learned to artificially cause the formation of clouds and fog. Similar studies have been conducted by many countries, including the USSR. A little later, they learned how to cause artificial precipitation. At first, such experiments had purely peaceful purposes, to cause rain or oppositely to prevent hail from destroying crops. But soon the military began to master similar technologies. During the Vietnam conflict, the Americans conducted Operation Popeye, the purpose of which was to significantly increase the amount of precipitation over the part of Vietnam along which the Ho Chi Minh Trail passed. The Americans sprayed some chemicals from airplanes, dry ice and silver iodide, which caused a significant increase in rains. As a result, the roads were blurred and the communications of the partisans were disrupted. At the same time, it should be noted that the effect was quite short-lived and the costs were huge. At about the same time, American scientists were trying to learn how to manage hurricanes. For the southern states of the USA, hurricanes are a real disaster. However, pursuing such a noble goal, scientists also studied the possibility of directing a hurricane to the wrong countries. In this direction, the famous mathematician John von Neumann collaborated with the American military department. In 1977, the UN adopted a convention that prohibited any use of climate as a weapon. It was adopted on the initiative of the USSR, and the USA joined it. Is a climate weapon even possible? Theoretically, yes. But in order to influence the climate on a global scale, in areas of several thousand square kilometers, we need enormous resources. But until we don't yet fully understand the mechanisms of occurrence of weather phenomena, the result can be unpredictable. Climate control studies are currently being conducted in several countries around the world, including Russia. We are talking about impacts on small areas. It's forbidden to use the weather for military purposes. If we talk about climate weapons, it's impossible to ignore two objects: the American HARP complex, which is located in Alaska, and the Suro facility in Russia, near Nizhny Novgorod. These two objects, according to some experts, are climate weapons that can change the weather on a global scale, affecting the processes in the ionosphere. The HARP complex is particularly famous in this regard. No article devoted to this topic is complete without mentioning this installation. In the early 90s of the last century, construction of a huge facility began in Alaska. This is a 13-hectare plot on which the antennas are located. Officially, the facility was built to study the ionosphere of our planet. It's there that the processes occur which have the greatest influence on the formation of the Earth's climate. In addition to scientists, the US Navy and the US Air Force, as well as the famous DARPA Department of Advanced Research, take part in the implementation of the project. But even with all this in mind, is HARP an experimental climate weapon? Unlikely. The fact is that the HARP complex in Alaska is by no means new or unique. The construction of such complexes began in the 60s of the last century. They were built in the USSR, in Europe, and in South America. It's just that HARP is the largest such complex, and the presence of the military adds intrigue. In Russia, the Suro facility is engaged in similar work, which has a more modest size and isn't in the best condition right now. Anyway, Suro works and studies electromagnetism in higher layers of the atmosphere. There were several similar complexes on the territory of the former USSR. Legends have appeared around such objects. They say about the HARP complex that it can change the weather, cause earthquakes, shoot down satellites and warheads, and control people's minds. But there is no evidence of this. Not so long time ago, American scientist Scott Stevens accused Russia of using climate weapons against the USA. According to Stevens, the Russian side, using a secret Euro-type installation operating on the principle of electromagnetic generator, created Hurricane Katrina and sent it to the United States. Today, climate weapons are a reality, but two large-scale risks are needed to use them. We don't yet know enough about the most complex processes of weather formation, so it's problematic to control such weapons. The use of climate weapons can hit the aggressors themselves or their allies and damage neutral states. In any case, it will be impossible to predict the result. In addition, regular meteorological observations are conducted in many countries, and the use of such weapons will cause serious weather anomalies that will definitely not be unnoticed. The reaction of the world community to such actions won't differ from their reaction to nuclear aggression. Undoubtedly, relevant research and experiments are continuing, but the creation of effective weapons is still far away. If climate weapons in some form exist today, it's unlikely that their use will be expedient, so now there is no serious evidence of the existence of such weapons.